What do you mean it sucks?
This pepper beef is too damn spicy.
What are you talking about? This is good.
How's it going, guys? Pepper beef too spicy. Hope you guys doing alright. Today in Tekken Quick Tips, the show where we talk about, or the series where we talk about little minor things in Tekken that could help improve your game, we're going to talk about the art of throwing. Now, throwing is a concept that is somewhat underutilized, I think, in Tekken sometimes. I think a lot of people tend to forget about throws because it's, generally a tactic that people don't really think about because they're used to, looking at all their different kinds of moves in their move list. So when they think about throws, you're like, okay, yeah, well, I got my 1 throw, and I got my 2 throw, and I got my 1+2 throw, and, occasionally I'll throw them out. But throws actually, like many things in Tekken, have a good amount of depth to them. They're not just unblockable attacks. So let's talk about throws in the basic sense. So throws were designed in most fighting games as a way to break through an opponent's guard. So throws, as you probably know, are all high attacks. Well, most of them are high attacks anyways, and they are all unblockable. So you can never stop a throw just by blocking, with the exception of Jack's 1+2 throw that wall splats, but that's a very specific example. But anyways, the throws in the game are designed to stop a very turtly opponent. However, throws in Tekken for a long time have been very, very difficult to deal with. The primary reason is that throws are very fast, and 2, that there are 3 types of throws, which make defending against throws very, very difficult. In Tekken, you have your 1 throw, you have your 2 throw, and your 1+2 throw. Everybody has these types of throws, but due to changes in Tekken 7, not everybody has a very powerful throw mix-up. For Leo, because of the changes in Tekken 7, now that generic 1 and 2 throws are both 1 and 2 breaks, 1 and 2 breaks, that means that if you use a 1 throw, you can break it with 2, and if you use a 2 throw, you can break it with 1 or 2, vice versa, whatever. So that makes throwing a lot weaker. So for Leo, I don't really think too much about throwing in terms of just getting damage because, well, yes, a throw is, hard to see coming, but, it's so much easier to break throws in this game compared to previous Tekkens that throwing kind of has not as much presence as it did in this game compared to previous Tekkens. However, because throwing is now easier, people tend to forget to do their throw break training, and in turn, it makes characters with multiple different types of throw breaks, like Paul, for example, it becomes much more deadly. So, getting into it, so we already have the basics of throws, is that throws almost always knock down. There are a few exceptions. They do 35 damage base, but some throws do less damage due to special properties, or some do a little bit more, but usually the base generic throw does about 35. 1 or 2 breaks for generic throws, regardless of right arm or left arm, and 1+2 throws always require a 1+2 break as soon as it connects. Most throws, generic throws, are 12 frame startup. Almost all the throws in the game are 12 frame startup. There are a few exceptions. Dragunov's throws are 11 frames, his special throws anyways, and Giant Swing from King is a 10 frame throw, which makes it very, very hard to see. So I think that's the only ones. There might be a little bit few exceptions, there might be slower throws, but nonetheless, those are generic frame data of throws. Now, a thing a lot of people ask is, what happens when you break a throw? When you break a throw... Oh, sorry. Yes, when you break a throw, the frame data is a little bit muddled. It depends on the character and depends on the throw. So, throw frame data is not usually universal. However, I do believe generally, if you are the one who is throwing and your throw is broken, you will be slightly negative and the opponent will be slightly plus. If you break a 1+2 throw, for example, though, you tend to be a lot more negative, and the opponent tends to be a lot more plus. So be careful about pressing after using a throw, because you might get counter hit out of whatever you do. Now, this goes into a lot of meta. So throws, like I said in the beginning, were designed to stop defense, but they're just more than that. Throws can be woven into your neutral game to create a stronger control over the pace of the game. Somebody who cannot throw break effectively there's a pretty big weakness, I think, in Tekken, because if you can't throw break, then I can just do this to you, over and over and over. Every time I get in range 0, you are liable to an unblockable mix-up. So, you know, someone who can't throw break, that's a pretty big weakness, and it's like that's a lot of people in Tekken who have very tough time throw breaking. And you know, to their bet to play devil's advocate, it's a pretty tough thing to do. Throw breaking requires a lot of awareness, a lot of reaction time, and a lot of you know, practice time to be able to see the hands effectively. Of course, the most basic rule in Tekken is that if you see a left arm, it's a 1 break. If you see a right arm, it's a 2 break. And if you see both arms, it's a 1+2 break with some exceptions. But generally, that's how it works. But of course, generic throws are 1 and 2 breaks in this game, like I mentioned so many times already. Anyways, so the big things about this video is it's more than just about throws. So let's talk about throws that have purpose. So, for example, I'm going to get thrown here by Paul's 1 throw. Now this throw does only a little bit of damage, 20, so it does less than 35. However, it has a follow-up. If I could do it, probably not. Let's see if I can do it. There we go. Alright, so that throw has a follow that does 35. And it's like, okay, why would I want to do that much work for a throw that will do only 35 when I could just do a regular throw? Well, the first part is that this 1 throw from Paul, down forward 1+3, sorry, is a command throw. So it must be broken with 1. It's a real throw, as people have been coining it in Tekken 7. It's a real throw. So you cannot break this throw with 2, no matter what. However, the second thing that's really, really crazy is that if my back is to the wall, it turns into a wall splat. So if my back is to the wall, this 1 throw becomes extremely deadly because now I can get wall splatted without even without even being mixed up. It just turns into a free, unblockable wall splat. So that's really, really dangerous. Of course, I know if you're thinking already, it's like, well, that wasn't the Blue Sparks version, it wasn't guaranteed. Pretty sure I can block this. Yeah, if I can block that, then I'm fine. But if I did the real version, the Just Room version, that would have gotten wall splatted, and that would have been bad. So that's a scenario where a throw has a special purpose. If I break this throw, it turns into the generic throw break animation. This generic throw break animation, I believe, is always +3 for the breaker and -3 for the, obviously -3, for the person who threw. And in these generic throw break scenarios, you basically just have to use it as if you use the down forward 1 on block. It's very, very ambiguous and a lot of muddled in there. The second throw that Paul has here is his 2 throw, which sends them very, very, very far when it does 40. So not only is this good for damage, it does 40, so it does more than 35, it sends them really far away. So one of the advantages of this is if someone needs someone to get off you, you can use this, and then they can knock down, and then you could run up and do a wake-up mix-up, and not only that, you get them off you. So it has 2 uses in that it sets up a knockdown mix-up, it does damage, and not only that, it also allows you to relieve pressure off yourself. Since the throw is 12 frames, so you know it's pretty fast and it's a good way to interrupt pressure. That has multiple purposes. Also, a little known fact that's not known about most 2 throws is that most 2 throws tend to switch to camera. If I could get another generic 2 throw in here. So if I have Paul 2 throw me, right? Paul 2 throw me, the other 2 throw. He's gonna end up on 2P, and I'm gonna go back to 1P. There are throws in the game which almost do not always position switch like this. For example, we're gonna switch position, so he's gonna go towards the wall, and I'm gonna go away to the wall. Not all throws in the game do this. However, the thing that's important to note here is that this was a 2 throw, not only because he threw with the 2 arm, but because it switched the camera, so it swaps our 1P and 2P. So if you know that the opponent is weak on a certain side, or you're weak on a certain side, then try to 2 throw them, and don't fix the camera. See, with Leo's 2 throw, it doesn't really switch position that much, but it always switches the camera no matter what. So I'm starting on 1P, and I'm going to go to 2P. For whatever reason, that's the case. That's usually the case with most 2 throws, it always switches cameras. Going back to Paul, though, with his 2 throw, this does a lot of damage, knocks down, and if you are at a 90-degree angle of the wall, it will do a mini wall splat. It will not combo, like you can't wall splat, but it will leave them really close. I think this breaks walls, though, however, if you're at the right angle. So that's another example for that. Paul has another 1 throw. I think it's what's it called? Chest Crusher? No. No. Foot Launch, here we go. Foot Launch. So this is another one break. But if you get hit by this throw, he tosses you over him and onto the other side, and this is also a position switch, and it goes really, really, really far. So the one thing that benefits about this is that if your back is to the wall, as Paul, you could use this, if I get it correctly. Like I say, I'm pressuring you, and then Paul all of a sudden does this, and now it's got wall splatted, and then now my back is to the wall, and now he has the position advantage, and I do not. Another example of using the wall in here is Paul's forward 1+2 throw, where if I do not break this throw, it is another wall splat, which does a heck of a ton of damage, and this is going to lead to at least half health damage. So this is another really, really, really dangerous throw at the wall. So now Paul has a throw mix-up game in here at the wall. He could use one throw, which is a little bit harder because of the adjust frame, and he could use forward 1+2. So it's a 1+2 and a 1 break. Even though they're high mix-ups, it's still dangerous at the wall because you can get wall splatted. However, because this throw is so good, even if it's mid-screen by the way, if it hits mid-screen, there's a lot of lag time here where I can't move. So he can actually run up and do like a trooper roll, or he could do wake up the man or whatever. He could do a lot of wake up mix-ups here, even though we're very far away. The lag time is so long. The recovery for me being thrown is so long. Anyway, so because this throw is so dangerous at the wall, you would think like, wow, that's a really good throw. I should just spam that all the time. Well, the thing is, if you break this throw, Paul gets wall splatted instead, and he gets position switch if he goes into the wall. And for Leo, I can do this, which is godlike. But anyways, the point is that also if I break this mid screen, the same thing. I don't think I get anything guaranteed, but I do get a lot of plus frames. So there are disadvantages to having a throw broken as well. However, there are times when it doesn't really matter if a throw is broken or not. Leo's 1+2 throw, which is very infamous. It creates a reverse wall splat, so Leo's back to the wall, it will allow the opponent to get wall splatted, and will do a truckload of damage right there, 80. I could do more, I think, if I did the orbital, but does a ton of damage if Leo's back is to the wall. So if Leo's back is to the wall, she gets a very, very dangerous escape option here, which is the reverse into the wall. Now, not only does that do a lot of damage, and it's very, very strong in general as a tool for Leo, but not only that, if you break this throw... Oops, sorry. I didn't break it. There we go. It still position switches nonetheless. Now I'm at negative frames here, so the opponent can actually act faster than me. I believe about 5 or 6 frames, but nonetheless, now his back is to the wall. And even if he's gonna like advance and push me out of the wall, at least now we're back in mid-screen and no longer my back is to the wall. So now I can use my backdashing, I can use the mid-screen, I can potentially push him to the wall. I could sidestep more, you know, I have the advantages of open space, and I don't have the disadvantages of having my back to the wall where I can't really move as much, and I'm forced to take a lot of mix-ups. So that's another example. It's like, okay, well, here I'm gonna do this throw, and if you don't break it, great, and if you do break it, it still works out for me in the end. So throwing in general, even if it's gonna be broken, it still can be really beneficial. For example, the same thing goes with Leo's 2 throw. Well, not that. You break Leo's 2 throw, it sends them at a 90-degree angle, which, look at him, his back is not exactly to the wall, but it's getting there. And if I throw him again, now his back is to the wall. So, regardless of whether you break it or not, because if he gets thrown, he's going to move slightly and slightly towards the wall still, and now his back is to the wall. So, throwing and breaking can have benefits even if the throw is broken. That's why dash throwing, even though dash throwing is slower and a lot easier to see, it can be beneficial because you don't care if they break it or not, because you still get the great position advantage there. It's a very high level, like upper class thinking way of playing, being aware of your positioning, but it's a great way to set up your neutral and to control positioning. Now there's also, of course, the scenarios where when a throw connects, right? So we have, let's get away from the wall for a second. Let's go do that. Yeah, so we have Leo's 1 throw, which sets up opponent in face down, feet away, feet towards, and facing away from Leo. Now, there is a sort of a mix-up here, right? If you're on the floor, you obviously cannot block, so you face an Okazemi mix-up, which means, you know, you have to fight versus the ground. So, in this scenario, I'm going to use my moves to hit the ground, right? So I'm going to use down 4. Oh, what just happened? The down 4 whiffed because he got up backwards. And now we're in an awkward situation where it's like I don't know what to do because he got up and I whiffed, so I block, should I attack, etc. So we don't want that scenario because it obviously isn't going to work out for us. So what do? Is we change up how we attack opponents who are going to get up. So if I run through him, but do, let's say, forward forward 2, he's going to get caught by that because he's getting up a certain way. Same thing if I do forward 1 plus 2. Oh wow, not in forward plus 2. I thought it was. Down forward 3 probably. Yeah, there we go. So down forward 3, forward forward 2. All these things are going to be catches on wake up. And if his back was to the wall, let's go back to the wall for a second. Let's do a little bit off axis here. There we go. He could get wall splatted, and that's gonna be not so good. So there could be examples like that where depending on how the opponent gets up, you change what will catch their wake up option. So throwing, I mean, I'm not gonna go into a whole tutorial about Okazemi, but throwing also forces Okazemi. So throw becomes damage into possibly even more damage. Now, if an opponent tries any other option that's not, like, let's say, wake up backwards, now the down 4 is going to hit. So now that's guaranteed damage every time. So it's whether they're going to risk eating that mid to avoid the low, or they'd rather eat that low just so they can avoid the mid. And if they try a get up attack here, oops, and I know they're going to do a get up attack, I do down forward 4-2, and that's counter, and that's an extra 35 damage on top of that. So that's a free 70 damage total from a throw because they woke up with an attack. So, as you can see here, controlling the neutral and getting a lot of more damage here is very possible with a throw. Throw is not just one thing, it's many other things. It is neutral control, it is position advantage, it is Okazemi attacks, it is, you know, pushing opponents towards the wall, and such and so forth. Or escaping pressure, defensively escaping pressure, moving yourself away from dangerous positions, such and so forth. Now, there are a few special throws in the game, which I am not going to show here exactly. We have Jack's, I forget what it's called, but it's a throw where he launches you up in the air and he punches you. Now, the punch part is breakable. I mean, not breakable, it's blockable, but it's a very, very tight window to block it. And if you don't block it, it's a free wall spot like Paul's forward 1+2 throw. Now quickly going over the other things. Of course, if you don't know side throws, if you go on the side, they are also real throws. You have to break whatever side I'm on. So if I'm on Paul's right side here, he would need to do a right arm break. And these usually have very unique Okazemi positions and they do a lot of damage. So people like going for side throws. Also, side throws are some of the coolest looking animations in the game, so I just like them in general. Also, of course, the back throw is guaranteed. Not guaranteed, like it's unbreakable. Also, if Fleo's opponent is back towards the wall, let's say, I think, what she calls it, this throw will do more damage. There we go. Yes, it does an extra 10 damage, so it's 60 instead of 50, and it leaves you in a better wake-up position. Certain characters like King have 2 back throws. I think he's the only one that does. But there are also, of course, the multi-throws and with King, and King has a lot of those because he's the main grappler of the game, but, you know, generally, throws can be mixed up because one of the things that is really cool about throws is that just because one throw doesn't work, you could always try another one. And nobody breaks forever unless you're a robot. So breaking throws is something that's a good way of getting your opponent to whittle down their, defense. However, throws become poor, 1, when your opponent is breaking a lot, and 2, when they start ducking. If they start ducking, then your throw attempt turns into a wolf punish, which could potentially be a launcher. However, of course, if they're ducking your throw, then you can start doing hop kicks or something like that, like a mid. But nonetheless, it is still dangerous. You don't want to rely on throwing too much because it's a weakness that can be overcome with a lot of practice. The main thing about What was I gonna say? Right, so a mix-up would be like if my back is to the wall, right, as Leo, and I'm fighting against an experienced opponent, it's likely that I might do the 1+2 throw because my back is to the wall, and that's the best thing I want, and most Leo players want to do that. However, instead of doing that, I'll just do a 2 throw because, like I said, even if you break it, you still move towards the wall, and it's damage nonetheless. So damage is damage, and a position advantage. And then maybe when I think I'm going to do 2 throw too much, I'm going to throw in the 1+2 throw, and eventually you can, you know, hopefully I'll be able to manage to hit that on the opponent. But nonetheless, throws can be mixed up very well. There are, like I said, a couple unique throws as well. Like Law has this forward 2+3 throw, which is a knee throw, which he uses his left knee, so you don't look at the arms, you look at his knee, and then it's a 1-arm break. I think there are a couple of crouch throws in the game. Eddie and King have crouch throws where it's still breakable, but it only connects if your opponent is crouching. Very, very hard read to use a crouch throw, but they still have similar properties to what you call it, to regular throws. Where if you break them, you know, it's plus and negative, whatever. Fang has a true back turn throw mix-up where he has one or 2, and he has 1+2. And both of the animations for Fang's 1 and 1+2 throws look the same from back turn, so it's a true mix-up. And of course, the 1+2 throw does like 50 on its own, so you want to break that, but of course you can't tell the difference between the 1+2 throw and the 1. So it's kind of a very, very difficult mix-up there. Throwing in general is a great way to break down your opponent's defense, and some people, like especially online, don't like throwing that much because it's quote-unquote cheap. But you know, it's a weakness that can definitely be abused. You know, like if someone can't throw break, then by all means you should be throwing, because if your opponent doesn't have the ability to see throws, then you need to get them started on the path to breaking throws, because it's going to be something that really, really messes them up. There are a lot of people who main characters like Paul, Dragunov, or Jin, or let's say Law, or Heihachi, who or Nina have all these real throws, and they might get very far because the opponents that they're fighting just can't throw break. And it's not their fault that the opponent can't throw break, so it's a very, very fair and strong thing to be aware of how good your throws are. Of course, though, throws have very short range unless you do a dash throw, which is easier to see, so you have to be very aware that throws are not always viable because you have to be very, very, very close. And that they're high. Also, if you want to throw in a mix-up, usually you want to go for a throw when the opponent least expects it. Personally, I like throwing when the opponent I'm showing the opponent a different mix-up, so I could do like King K and the cancel with like say King K into cancel into that. Like I could do that, or I could do crouch dash mix-up with Leo and then throw like that. Or, you know, or several varieties, or I can knock them down and then throw them on a wake up, like, or at the very start of the round. I know NYC Fad does this a lot. Very start of the round, just throw them right away. So these are different kinds of ways of getting throws in, and generally dashing up and just throwing raw is pretty good. Doing strings and then throwing is not as good, in my opinion, because people are focusing on defense, and at that time they're going to be able to break throws better. Throws are also really great at the end of the round since it does a good chunk of damage, so it can make an opponent who is not thinking about them getting killed in one hit be waking up and be like, oh shit, I can die in one hit if my health is low enough, because it just does so much. And even if it doesn't kill, if their health is low, they get put into a wake mix-up, and for certain throws there is guaranteed damage afterwards. So it's very, very, very scary to see throws at the end of the round as well. For example, Dragunov's 1+2 throw, the bar fight, is down 4 afterwards is completely guaranteed no matter what. So that's a damage top of damage right there. There's also a lot of mix-ups on Dragunov's 1+2 throw. You could do a launcher, you could do another stronger mid, you could dash up to you, etc. But making throws predictable, of course, the thing about good players is that when your throw is breaking, you essentially kind of lose your turn most of the time. So unless you got a great panic option, most of the time throwing is a risk, because if it's not going to work out, then you're going to lose your throw. I mean, you lose your turn, unless of course you want position advantage. That's the one upside to that. So one thing a lot of people ask me is, how do I throw break practice? And that's a pretty good question because it's hard to know like when is someone gonna throw you. So what I do is I record 5 different scenarios in training mode. I record a dash, and then I record three dashes, all of them with a throw. So I'll do empty dash, and then record something with like dash into that throw, right? And then I'll do all 3 of those. And then I'll have one of them that's dash into like a really slow low, which for Paul I guess would be let's say that, right? Because Devilman's unseeable, right? So I would do that, or something that's like mid then high, like something I need to duck. So not only, because the reason I do dash is because the dash is something that a lot of people do, because to create a throw they need to be really close, and for them to be really close they need to dash or somehow get close to you. So if you're dragging off, you can do running 2, it's like the same thing. So, or running 3. So dashing close makes it so that this is a ideal, and this is a scenario that are realistic that you're gonna see a lot in a game match where someone dashes, they might throw you. So you'll be ready for that scenario. So it's realistic. So it's not just random throw breaking. And the empty dash ensures that you're not just mashing 1 or 2 every time someone dashes at you, because sometimes there won't always be a throw. You need to be breaking on reaction. Not only that, the slow low or mid high move that you need to duck, which I guess for Paul actually would be a better example, would be practicing ducking against back 1-2 and punishing, ensures that you are ready for anything. You're not just looking for throws only, you're looking for all kinds of mix-ups. So, because if you're only looking at the hands, then what if someone dashes up to you and they do a snake edge? Then you look at the hands so much that you didn't notice the snake edge, which is not a good thing. So it keeps you fresh, it allows you to react to moves while at the same time throw breaking. Now, I think the best way to do it is to start with like long or normal intervals, so it's like a very like slow and gradual throw breaking process, because the dummy is going to throw you a lot. If you're not good at throw breaking, the dummy is going to throw you a lot. So you need to start at a slower pace and then slowly, gradually increase it all the way to short. And keep doing this a lot, like over time, or play someone who throws you a lot, and you will get better at throw breaking, like I guaranteed almost, because this method has helped me a lot with throw breaking. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm definitely seeing the throws a lot more, especially with Tekken 7's lenient break window. So by doing this method, which once again is empty dash, 3 dashes with 3 regular throws, or 3 real throws rather, and then 1 dash into something you need to react to, like a slow low or a mid high or a double high string, or something that's like you need to like learn how to block punishes correctly. It works on multiple things at the same time. It works on your reactions, works on your throw breaking, works on your awareness, and it works on your ability to punish things correctly. And if you want, you could add backdashing to it, so you could practice your backdashing while doing all these things at once. So it helps a lot. This throw break training helps a lot. There's also Noodle's throw break trainer. You want to Google that. It's a really, really good, strong thing to do it whenever you're not playing Tekken. With that being said, that's most things you know about the throw. Each throw scenario is different. Like different breaks cause different situations and position switches and all that. It cause different okazemis, and some don't get good at okazemis, some push back a lot, some get back turn mix-ups, and you experiment with your own character's throws and see how they work out. I talked about throw breaking and when to use throws, how to mix up throws, and with that being said, I think that's everything you need to know about throws from a general standpoint. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in another time. See ya.